welcome to Success Story Chronicle. Today we got Irfan Mir Saab. Irfan Saab has been an inspiration to me. He has provided me advice on many occasions to the work that we do here in Saskatoon for other professionals here. Assalamu alaikum and welcome, Irfan Saab, to our show.
Walaikum assalam, Yunus. Thank you very much for inviting me to this program. Please, thank you.
Let's start with your brief introduction, and then I'll ask follow-up questions. Thank you.
I don't know where to start from, but I've got my Master of Engineering from University of London, England, and we migrated a long time in early 90s with my parents to Canada. We landed in Edmonton. I lived there for some time, in fact, for quite a few years, and worked for different companies, including Ministry of Education in Alberta. I was like a system analyst for them at that time, and moved to Calgary from Edmonton to a consulting company. And to a consultant, I was working for Trans-Canada Pipelines for some time, and doing the same thing, like system analysis and all that kind of, and system management kind of involvement. We'll live there for some time. I moved to Vancouver as well and did some job there as well. But finally, I thought that I should. At that time, I was young, but when I was in Edmonton, I got married. I have two sons. Both of them are adults now. One is about to finish his English degree, and the other one is going to be a graduate in philosophy from University of Saskatchewan. But when they were young, they were in school when I decided to go back to Pakistan, and that was a good journey. Like, I've learned quite a lot. There are challenges, when you move from one country to another. It's a big move, and you have to learn quite a lot. But I enjoyed my tenure, or my time I spent in Pakistan. That was really good as well. I got back when they were about to start their university, my two boys, and we put them back into the school, in a high school. So they graduated high school, and then I was kind of, traveling in those days, back and forth from Pakistan to see my family here. But when then I decided that, it's getting difficult, then I decided to move back, and I got this position in Federated Co-op as in the IT service management position. And that was a time when they almost finished their high school. They were just waiting for their diplomas and all that kind of stuff. And they got their, admission in University of Saskatchewan. So that's a little brief of my, very long story, but a very short version of it, in fact. Yeah.
All right. So you have now worked on different positions to get to the senior position the way you are right now. So, and if we track back and see what was your first position that you sort of started working as, and thereon, and if you can briefly sort of summarize, how did you sort of grow into different roles further on? What, after having, I think, masters in computer science, that's the highest degree you can have. But then how will your journey look like that that helped you from one position to another position?
Well, quite honestly, like, if I look at my career, like as a junior analyst, mostly doing what do you call it, coding configurations, all that kind of stuff in the beginning. But I started pursuing my when I moved to, basically the boost which I got really in my career was honestly, in Pakistan. So at the time when I was moving, I was like, uh, still not in a management position here, like, just about like, a senior position. That is, you can just call it senior system admin kind of a position. And when I moved back, I got a very good position, and from there I start kind of learning more of the management, team management and project management and all that kind of stuff. And gradually, involved into more strategic position, like, developing roadmaps and creating strategies and implementing, those roadmaps, and uh, getting into that kind of an environment. And then gradually, like, becoming head of the departments there, and eventually, right? So by the time when I was leaving, or probably, I was coming back to Canada, I was a very senior person at that time. And when I got back, I know it's a management position, but it's not really, I'm not really a head of the department here, right? I'm not really in that position, right, where I was kind of enjoying that day. So it's still like, it's not really, my position is still not hands-on, like I'm not really configuration. I'm still a management position, right? But I'm not really heading a department right now. So what I'm saying, like, somehow when I when I when I decided to go to Pakistan, like, I had this, when I was working here in Canada before moving to Pakistan, I had this, like a patient, right? Like you feel like, you wanted to go back and you wanted to learn and you want to serve and kind of stuff, right? It does happen, right? At a young age. It's something, uh, uh, like you always like challenges. You wanted to, explore, and exactly that was my case, right? And I just wanted to. So I used to apply, and nobody was getting back to me. So I used to, and in those days you have to apply through a proper, post, right? Like you have to make an application and print it, and then, look into it. And a friend of mine used to kind of help me. He used to send me the ads and all that kind of stuff, right? So um, it wasn't really happening, So somebody just gave me advice, and it was a friend, that, the best thing you have to come, right? You just burn your boats, right? And just get here and apply, right? And I was lucky, I got a position there, and was a good start. And then, I moved to a very senior position back there. At this time, honestly, I think I'm not in a like, I'm not really pursuing a career kind of stuff, right? I'm kind of a little more content now, that I think, that's okay. Everything is fine, and I got a good job, and things are okay, kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's not really an advice for the young people. I want them to be very energetic. Of course, I want them to be pursuing their career, right? They should be really looking into the challenges. Um, I'm the reason I'm saying that, because, the boys are now about to adult. I'm just going to take one of my son back home, hopefully maybe in May, and he's going to be getting married. So, the reason I'm kind of well content with my career and not really pursuing it so hard, but it's not uh, what do you call, an advice to the young people. They have to know, like, if you look at my career, I've been to Bangladesh, I've been to Middle East, I've been to London, right? I worked in all different kind of organization. Even when I was Pakistan, right? I switched so many jobs. Like, I started my career with uh, GIK Institute. I got a teaching position there. From there, I moved to uh, Sui Northern. From Sui Northern, I moved to MCB. From MCB, I moved to PTCL, right? That was my last job, right? And even when I was in Sui Northern, uh, because I had this, because I developed that, you know, skill, you may say, a teaching skill, when I was in GIK for. So I was a visiting faculty in. Uh, it's called, what is it called? Uh, Punjab College of something, I forgot the name. but it's a good institute. They have so many, I think, campuses around Punjab, right? Very famous. So I used to teach there uh, as a visiting faculty, and that was I think that was fun for me. Making more, of course, you make money, but at the same time, right, you're in touch with the student, with the young people, and it was fun.
Okay, no, that's excellent, excellent. Now, if I were to ask you when you were here and when you left for Pakistan, and when you came back here in Canada again, and then you got into the job market again, and if you compare the times in terms of in terms of technology or job standards and work requirements, and did you
Mhm.
see any difference that you can highlight, or you could sort of think of those were the difference in different times?
Well, honestly, like, there is a difference in the culture. There's a difference in the working style of the people, right? But as far as the technology is concerned, honestly, I don't see any difference. Like, if you are, if you're managing, for example, if you're a DBA, right? And if you're an Oracle DBA and you're certified DBA, then it doesn't matter, right? Whether you're here or there, right? So the technology is, honestly, it's across the globe. It's the same technology, right? So if you're using IBM servers, you'll be IBM servers, right?
Mm.
And if you're using a certain operating system, that will remain the same technology will be here. You'll have the same kind of, processes as well, so as far as the technology is concerned, right? Um, the difference is, honestly, is to learn how these people work on it, right? What is their way of doing things, and that's not really um, unique to Canada. When I went to Pakistan, like, I took my time to understand, honestly, like, this is how we have to, like, you have to be um, a little political savvy, right? To move to an organization, right? And it varies. It's different from organization to organization, and especially from country to country. It will always be different, right? So it takes time, but it's not something which you have to 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 learn a new technology, right? So you will definitely, there are, a lot of chances that you will end up doing the same thing, so if you were a, uh, you know, uh, uh, what do you call it? If you're a network engineer, right, you will end up being a network engineer here as well. If you're Cisco certified, then you're a Cisco certified. That's the same certification, right?
Mm.
Uh, it's the same certification, same technology, right? Your experience will be. I know they have this in Canada. We have this problem, but the reason because, honestly, I think uh, it's a small market, basically, and that's why they have this question: do you have a Canadian experience? Which doesn't make sense at all, anything, right? It doesn't really matter at all, honestly, unless you're going into a management position, right? So where you have to have some other skills, right? Where you have to have some team management skill and understand their environment and all that kind of stuff. But again, with the technology, with the young people who are hands-on and were coming to start their career with I don't see any issues. The only thing is sometimes what happened in some cases, because some of the young people do come and consult me, right? So I've noticed that some people have experience, but since they've joined a position, some, in an organization, and they were kind of doing the like they were managing the systems, or maybe they were kind of, uh, administrating the system, or I'm talking about more related to the IT environment right now, and they have a lot of experience, but they didn't really bother to do the certification, right? Because they were there, they were comfort zone, they were not really challenged, so they thought they're doing okay, and definitely they were doing okay because they have all the skills, and they did not really challenge to go and take the certification or to do the certification. So normally I do advise people, okay, you have a lot of experience in databases or network or whatever, right? It's better to take to start your certification, take a track, and some of them do come with a very raw kind of what I mean by raw, I mean to say, like, a generalist. They're not really specialized, right? So they may have done some networking. They may have done some admin work. They may have done some procedures, or may have done maybe they have done some audit or whatever, right? But they're very general. So my advice to the young people is to look into the market and see which areas really has a demand, and take a track. Like, you probably, let's suppose you wanted to be in a cybersecurity, then start your certification at the levels of certification. So you take a track, start doing your certification, and keep on applying. And once you got a position, right, make sure that you keep your certification, all the time, and keep on progressing, and like, keep the track, right? So don't kind of change your track, right? So for a level, like, until you get to a very senior position, your certifications are very important, right? And the good way to do it, to select a, a, a specific area, right? Instead of just doing a DBA at the same time, and then you move to the certification of networking, and then you go to the security, and then you go to system admin. Instead, you just take a track and then really focus on it, and do keep the track, and try to finish the track, and get to the senior certification or high level certification for you, and that's very beneficial. We tried it for many young people, and they're very successful now. Mashallah.
Mashallah. So I think that's a great point there. I picked up two main points. Number one is basically that do certifications, and back home you may not have required, or may not have, somebody might not have asked you, but in Canada these are sort of your assets. When you put them on your resume, they come as very sort of a selling feature when you apply for a job. The other thing
Yeah.
that you mentioned, I think that's again very good point, that find your focus. It's absolutely true. Back home, one person who is just the IT department, he does everything. You ask him, he's the admin, DBA admin. He's your networking engineer. He's your sort of project IT, project management. So everything, he's dealing with the vendors and contractors and everything. So, but here, I think things are very specialized. So find a like some focus for yourself that you like to do, and pursue that.
Yeah.
That's mhm.
Very important. Honestly, when I started here, right, I was a very senior position, right, in Pakistan. I started at a mid-level management here, right? So uh, I'm reporting to, like, the the to the head here. But again, like, I decided, like, okay, been I've been doing, like, I have no problem, like, but still, I'm implementing, best practices, for example. So I thought, it's better to do, instead of just having a foundational ITIL, right, or ITIL, right? I did my practitioner, right? So I did ITIL practitioner, a few years back, and I thought, it's good to to stamp it, right? That, okay, I can implement best practices. I know the how to implement the the policies, and develop these roadmaps. How to uh, uh, evolve this, or transformation, right, where the best practice is implemented. But I thought, it would be good not just to do it, but to make sure that they recognize me as a certified practitioner in the item as well. Similarly, there were a lot of projects. I completed many projects for them. They were huge projects. I um, from honestly, the last project which I was doing was um, the last project which I did there was like about $10 million, right? And these are big projects. Uh, but again, like I decided last year, it was no, it was 2019, that I decided, okay, let's just challenge the PMP as well, right? So they didn't ask me for that, but I just did my PMP as well. So there's always the certification will always add to you, and give you a sense of achievement as well. But at the same time, they're recognized, and you always get a benefit.
Okay, great. So let's move forward now. So immigrants, those who come from different countries, this is my observation. They are technically very sound because they have done the work, they got the skills. Um, what skills do you find that they lack in, which they should focus on? A, B, if they are technically sound, but they want to go into project management, become a project manager, and then how should they sort of propel themselves to achieve project management job or profession?
I think looking at honestly, it's a good question. The reason because uh, if you look at the current market, there are more positions in project management, right, as compared to the rest of the and the reason because a lot of changes are happening and a lot of implementation going. There are a lot of changes, and for changes or for implementation, you need a project manager, right, to to ensure that you deliver the project within a time and within a budget and all that kind of stuff. I had very good two examples. Two of my They were kind of in my team reporting to me at one time when I was in Pakistan. They've been here now for a few years, but they migrated to Ontario, and they were struggling. And I told them, right, okay, instead of doing a certification, that particular focused area which your guy is doing, I want you to do PMP. And they did a PMP, right? They did a project management, and the way they did it, they took uh, basically uh, not an online, but they decided to go to to a college, right? They did the project management. They took a project management course, the challenge exam. They did it, and they started with a project coordinator. And both of them are project managers now, and they're doing really good. The good thing about a project management is honestly that it's very demanding. It's very demanding, right? So you can be a consultant if you want to, right? Depending how you want to perceive your career, but you can be a full-time employee. But I've seen a lot of people just, like a consultant position. They go complete a project, 6-month project, a year project, 2 years project, right? And then they leave and they find another opportunity, and they kind of enjoying it being a consultant. But if you look at the current market, honestly, and it's not just within IT, project management is very demanding in all areas right now in deploying projects. Uh, I've seen people in different areas, right, which have done their project management, very successful project managers now.
Okay, great. Now, the first part of the question was basically in your observation when people come to you and then you get to talk to a lot of people. What areas generally, the immigrants when they start their career and they try to look for a job and they struggle, where they sort of don't deliver up to the mark with this.
Honestly, yeah, that's what happened. Because of the community, most of the people in the community knows me, right? So because of the masjid and all these kind of stuff, and they know I'm an IT guy, so normally I'm being referred when when people has a computer kind of a background, right, or IT background or technical background. So that's why I don't really have very broad uh, experience in consulting
Right.
with all different kind of careers. So normally people say, "Oh, Acha, you got a computer degree and you were doing this. Okay, why don't you just meet, our brother Irfan or kind of stuff?" And that's how they've been introduced to me. So it's mostly IT people which come and then we discuss things, what's really going on, where do they stand, what kind of experience do they have. I spend some time with them, and help them out. And
Okay. So, do you find anything that they're basically areas which you think they need to do any better if they were to sort of,
one of yeah, one of the area which I think is very important for all these uh, new people who comes. Uh, it's a Canada is like, if you're coming from Pakistan, especially, right, or from countries like countries, so you're used to with a lot of your friends, and people get easily a little depressed, because sometimes it takes a bit longer to find a job. And what I'm saying, honestly, that's you have to be you have to be very hopeful, because technology is technology. You will inshallah find a job, right? Sometimes you have lacking little certification. Sometimes presentation is a little problem, right? You're not really doing up your cover letter appropriately, or maybe your resume has an issues, and these can be fixed, right? You can do your certification. That's not a big deal. You can polish your some of your presentation skill, right? um, but again, like what I'm trying to explain here, Eunice, is that you got you got your basic academic you know qualifications. So you are a graduate in a specific area, and you have done your experience. All you probably need is maybe something missing, which need to be really looked into it and find out. Once you find out, then work on it, and things will get better. Yeah.
okay.
Uh, but don't. But normally people get. I've seen some people are really get really depressed. When things get when things are not happening. It's only they have to find out what need to be done. Yeah.
Great. So now comparing the time when you started your career here and time now, and the time is going to come. So we're going to have a lot of immigrants coming from different parts of the world. How do you see IT as a career as a choice of a career, and what is your view on the employment and jobs here in Canada in IT?
Okay. Well, what's really happening in IT world? Honestly, IT is very broad now. So you have to look into, like, if you're a fresh graduate, right? Then you better look into the market, and then you decide, because once you do your undergrad degree, then it's a very general degree, right? I know have uh, you probably have taken some intensive courses, and maybe you have done your project in a specific area, but still, undergrad is a very general degree. So my advice will be, like, look into the market. The other thing is, if you like specific area, and if you really being a very, you have a very uh, uh, kind of interest in a specific area, that's different, right? You love to be in networking, that's different, right? But what I really advise the young people, that look into the market and see, what's really happening. Look at the trends, right? What will happen in next 5 years? Is that's going to be, it's going to grow, and then take that particular area, whether it's robotics, whether it's in artificial intelligence, whether it's going to be system engineering, whether it's going to be software engineering, and make sure that you kind of take that track, right? And do some, uh, because what's happening, these certifications are normally uh, product driven, I mean to say, like, Oracle, IBM, right? Cisco kind of stuff. They're not uh, like you can be a like if you're a database administration, it doesn't mean, right? You can switch to DB2 as well, right? A different database, and you can switch to Microsoft SQL as well, right? But again, like uh, these certifications are very, what do you call it? Very product driven, vendor driven kind of, certification. So make sure that you look into the market, see what is really needed and what's the trends going on, which area is going to be really, uh, going to grow kind of stuff, and make a decision based on that, and then pursue that certification and look for that job in fact. And of course, when you're getting a job, right, you're looking for that job, you kind of, depending on which level you are. So you have to assess yourself as well. It is going to be you in an entry level position, you're going to be an intermediate, or you're going to be a senior kind of position. So you assess that and then, work it out. Sometimes what happens, because it's a smaller market, very competitive, right? Uh, Sometimes you have to little sacrifice to start your career. Like you're a little senior, and maybe you need to start a little intermediate, right? Maybe you're intermediate and you start with a little junior position, right? But you're not sacrificing on your area, right? If you uh, if you're in a specific focused area, right? You should really be sticking to that area and making sure that if you need to add something or to polish something, polish it, right? If you need a certification, do your certification to it, but make sure that you apply in the same, not just in the same area, but looking at your level as well, and then adjusting that. Yeah. But
Great.
if you want to switch, then I think it's better to look into the market and see where the growth is,
Mm.
and then start your career from there. Honestly, that will be always very successful.
If you want to sum up your advice for everyone, what would you say?
One thing is, like, honestly, when I was in uh, Pakistan, right, and my team members and colleagues and young people used to come and ask me that, do you think we should really immigrate? I'm trying to, I've applied for that. And I always used to tell them, right, you know, what if I say it's good? What if I say it's bad, right? It will be my perspective, honestly. It's because everybody's perspective is different, right? It's a good country, yeah, yes, it's a good country. But it is up to you, right? And how would you know that? You will know that once you have experienced both areas, right? So definitely apply, and see what is your priorities, honestly. So my advice to them is, you made a decision, you give it a really a full fledged, because some people kind of disappointed, right, and leave early, right? But make sure really what need to be done, what gaps need to be filled. Uh, Analyze those things, give it a real good, you know, uh, what do you call it, I mean to say, like, don't give up easily, right? Uh, there's always something which is missing, and you can always work on those missing areas. You can fill those gaps, and I don't see that, especially for the people who are professionals, sound professional, right? Not just in IT, maybe they're finance expert, they're accounts expert, right? Honestly, things are the same. It's not really different. All you need to find out what is really missing. Make sure you just, take an advice. There are a lot of resources available, right? Look into your resume, look into your cover letter, look into the certification, look now what is really missing, right? And I don't see that you cannot be successful man, right? And my advice will always be that since you have taken a step, make sure you really, see how you're going to be moving forward instead of, just giving up and not doing things. One of the gaps which I think can happen is that when you're socializing, right? And it's good to, like you said, it's a multicultural, right? Inclusion is very important. You have to make sure that you socialize, right? And for that, I think my advice will be to start taking some of these activities, start liking, if you don't really watch, for example, ice hockey, then there's nothing wrong with it, develop some passion, right? It's good. Then look into what kind of stuff, which they do. So, and it will help you with the winter as well. Like, for example, in school, or maybe going for a skate or something like that. It will always help. You can, when you're in a group, then when they're discussing things, like, you don't feel odd. And also, when they're cracking jokes, right, you will be you will understand all those things. So you will not be really isolated. But again, like, it will just help you, right, to understand them and to be a part of the society, right? Of course, you have to have your own codes, and of course, you have to follow your ethics and all that kind of stuff. But there are a lot of things which need to be uh, I think we should be adopted to be a happy man, right? Beside your making money and getting a job, right?